welcome to another episode of the Sal Licata Show, live here, available on YouTube, Apple, Spotify, wherever you get your podcasts. We have a special guest today. I figured we'd do a little bit of a Jets roundtable. We've done some balance with some Giants talk, some Jets talk. Here we are as we leading up to the season, getting closer and closer to actual meaningful football. And we welcome in right now Jake Asman, who is a host on ESPN New York, host on Mad Dog Radio as well. And maybe more importantly, or more interesting to me now, Jake, is the fact that you have built up some YouTube channel for primarily Jets talk, over 64,000 subscribers. And you know me, I'm new to this world. I'm fascinated by this. But anyway, we appreciate your time. How you doing, Jake?
Sal, this is awesome for me. I told you off air, I'm doing our Jets podcast I do once a week with your guy, Brandon Tierney and Rich Cimini. So to get Sal in the morning, BT in the afternoon, I mean, that's awesome. So thanks for having me.
You know, we played golf together, was it last week or 2 weeks ago? And I was telling the guy who had us out, this guy, Ted Fitzpatrick, was like, hey, BT and Sal right now is rare to get us together. So here you are. You have not necessarily together, but me in the morning, BT later on. And you guys do a great job together with the Jets Collective. As you know, no more passionate Jets fan than BT. So you and Cimini, I followed along with that as well. We got our guy Badabooms, who's a diehard Jet fan. We'll bring him in a little bit, talk some Jets. But I'm curious about you. So because did you work at the Fan when I was there? Or maybe not the Fan, but CBS Radio? Were you ever there?
So I'm trying to remember if we actually directly overlap, Sal. My first job out of college was as a board op, tape op for CBS Sports Radio. And then towards the end of my almost year I was there, I started getting some shifts as a board op on the overnights, primarily with JJ or Tony Page. I did some summers. So my first day at Fan, or my first actual day, not counting the training, was Francesa's original last day when he retired the first time. So that's when my time at Fan started. It was November, December-ish of 2017. And I was there for almost a year and then moved down to Houston where I did radio for almost 6 years in July of 2018.
Okay, so we might have crossed over a little bit. I was not there from 10 to 13, and then again from 13 to about 18. I left to go to WOR, and then came back in 18. But I do remember your name and hearing you, whether it was in the newsroom or people talking about you, and then as you built yourself up, I was like, oh yeah, I remember. I'm pretty sure he used to work at CBS Sports Radio or something like that. So I wasn't 100% sure. So you don't recall ever working with me together at the Fan?
Yeah, we never. Unfortunately, we never got to do any shifts or whatnot. The only host I actually got to produce locally were JJ, Tony Page, Summers. There might have been a Lori Rubinson Sunday night in there somewhere, if I remember correctly. I did the Dick Neer 6 a.m. Saturday morning.
Yeah.
So it was cool. I grew up obviously like many, listening to the Fan, Joe and Evan, Mike and the Mad Dog, Boomer and Carton. So it was definitely a surreal experience to get the opportunity to be there for almost a year.
And I never had to leave, but I'm always fascinated because there was a point in my life, I mean, you talk about 15, 20 years ago where that was the thing to do. It was a reality. And if you had to go, I welcomed the thought. There was close to maybe going one day to Florida and considering moving down there. There was other talk about maybe other spots on occasion. Nothing ever really came that close. But you actually did move, which I give you credit for. It's not easy to do, but people always ask oh, you want to get into the business, well, what do you do? And certainly back then it was, well, you got to go somewhere and be on the air. What was that like going from New York sports to having to talk sports in Houston, which I'm sure a lot more college football than here? It had to be a totally different animal. You did it for 6 years, huh?
Yeah, it was definitely an adjustment. The first job I had when I moved down to Houston, it was unique. So the radio company I worked for was called Gal Media. They owned the local ESPN Houston affiliate, and they also owned, at the time it was called SB Nation Radio. It used to be Yahoo Sports Radio. The name had changed a bunch. So they owned the national network and then the local ESPN. So I got a chance to start really on both. So when I was doing the national show, even though we didn't exactly have all these affiliates nationwide, despite being called national radio, it gave me a chance to basically sink or swim on my own. It's like you're doing 2-3 hours solo. There's no text line. You're probably not going to get very many calls, if any. You're kind of on your own. So that really helped me get the reps I felt like I needed to develop as a talk show host.
Right.
And then a couple of years into that, about 2.5 years into my Houston tenure, that's when I actually got moved to our brand new local lineup when we had a new program director come in. Jason Barrett was actually the radio consultant our station hired, and he gave me my shot in afternoons on a 3-man show. So that's when I started doing full-time Houston talk. And I think what actually helped me was I'd been living in the city for almost 3 years at that point. So even though I wasn't regularly on locally, I'm still keeping up with what's going on in Houston sports. So I felt like I was pretty comfortable with understanding the fan base and the teams for whatever we were going to talk about that day.
Yeah, it takes some time, I'm sure, to get acclimated. I've never, like I said, had to do it, but I've always envisioned, okay, here's how I would attack this. And actually, even recently, with over the last several months, somebody reached out to me and was like, "Hey, would you ever consider this?" I was like, "Yeah." I mean, it's a thought. Now, the game has changed so much, as you know. We'll get into that in a second. Like now, what's the point? Like, I don't even know if there's all due respect to radio, and you know how much I love radio, but like. What's the point in doing that if you're not on the Fan or ESPN locally, or obviously doing a national show like you said on occasion? And even that for me, if it's a full-time job, sure enough, great. But like really, the future is YouTube here. So how did you transition from Houston to coming back to New York? What was that like?
Yeah, it was wild how it all kind of unfolded. So I had already begun picking up some shifts on ESPN New York when I would come back on vacation. I was lucky enough to get a couple shifts here or there. I had my own Comrec, so on occasion when they needed someone, holidays or summer, I'd pick up a shift and I'd be able to do it remotely, which was awesome. But I mentioned I was on a three-person show,
Yeah.
and both my co-hosts, they're both originally from the state of Texas. They each, without telling each other or certainly telling me, they each picked up different on-air gigs in different capacities. One, my co-host Brad Kellner, he left to go back to Austin. He went to University of Texas. He wanted to just cover the Longhorns, so their flagship station hired him, and he kind of started his own YouTube channel covering exclusively Texas Longhorns. And my other co-host, he was a sports radio lifer, but football was his passion. He wanted to just only cover the Texans essentially. So he left to start his own Texan Substack and picked up some shifts on the side. But basically, I went from being on a three-man show to, well, now it's just me. I show up to work one day, and at this point, we had a new program director who was actually our old program director, aka the head of sales. He never hired me, so it's like when a new GM comes in and he wants to get his own players. So I show up after being told, "Oh, we're going to find you a new partner," and I'm staying after staying after work, doing auditions with some people in market, and then I show up the following Monday after both my co-hosts had left the week prior, and I get fired, and just like that, I'm out of a job. So I had a decision to make. Do I look for another full-time radio job? And I had some talks in like Sacramento and some other
Hmm.
like mid markets, or do I kind of just bet on myself? And the YouTube channel at the time, I had already started it a couple years prior. It was doing very well. Aaron Rodgers was about to go into his first season with the Jets. So there was so much interest. Views were up. I was really gaining a following on YouTube. And I kind of just said, well, let me just try and do this for now and see where it will take me. See if I can then pick up some extra shifts on ESPN New York and on Mad Dog Sports Radio on
Hmm.
Sirius. So I started doing that. And very quickly I realized, well, I think I can make a full time living on YouTube. I added a second daily show to complement what I was already doing in the morning, covering, the Jets on the YouTube channel primarily. And from there, it kind of just grew. And I realized, well, wait a second, I don't necessarily need to get another full time radio job. I could stay full time on YouTube and then complement my schedule by picking up radio shifts wherever they might be.
Right, and that to me is a great formula. Keeps your name out there in a different medium on radio, keep you in the mix with that, and obviously building your own platform under your own control. I didn't realize that. I assumed that maybe you left Houston to come back to ESPN Radio, like they got you back here, or Mad Dog Radio. Why not? Whatever happened, and now I know the inner workings of the Fan, especially back then. Why not? How'd you go from working at the Fan and CBS Radio to doing shifts at ESPN as opposed to at the Fan or at the network?
So believe me, I tried to reach out to Chernoff and stay in touch with him when I was down in Houston. I certainly tried to reach out to Spike, never heard anything. So I just wanted an opportunity, and ideally, Fan would have been great, just because you mentioned it. I got my start, there as my first, technically my first job in the radio business, if you will. The opportunity on ESPN New York, I really owe it a lot to two people. Ryan Hurley, who gave me my first ever opportunity to do a show after the Jets lost to the Seahawks, ironically, and Geno Smith. They were eliminated from the playoffs in the
Hmm.
2022 season. It was New Year's Day 2023. I came on after the Jet postgame show. So that was my first ever show on ESPN New York. And it was because I had stayed in touch with Ryan Hurley, who I'd known since he was the Michael K. Show producer on 1050. I used to go to Champions on Long Island when they did remotes and meet Don and Michael. Like I'd been like a religious, K Show listener for years. So I kind of knew Ryan and stayed in touch with him. He gave me that first opportunity. And then believe it or not, John Winthrop, who's now our program director at ESPN New York, his dad, Doug, who's like a regular caller on our morning show on the station, he's a huge Jets fan. He had been a regular watcher of my YouTube show, and he had recommended to John, hey, like you got to get Jake in there, like he's got to get more shifts. He'd be perfect for you guys. So really, Doug Winthrop, John Winthrop, and Ryan Hurley gave me my opportunities to kind of get in the door at ESPN New York and start doing some shifts.
It's incredible. One thing that I like about you is that you remind me of a younger me in that, like, I loved it. Loved the fan. I would show up at the remotes for Mike and the dog. Like, I couldn't get enough of those guys. I'd call in. It just meant the world to me to be, I didn't care what I did there, intern, work my way up. And then obviously, was fortunate enough to be on the air there and know those guys, friendly with Mike still to this day. I love all that. So I see that in you. How old are you now, Jake?
I'm 30. So
yeah, 30. So
you were an inspiration for me, Sal. Not even, just saying that because I'm on your show. Like you, John Jastrzemski, all the guys that, Chris McMonagle, like the guys who certainly paid their dues, grinded, picked up every shift, worked every holiday. Some started behind the scenes, that. For me, I just knew there's just so much competition. I'd have to go to a different market and get reps to try and get noticed and ultimately improve. But I appreciate you saying that because someone like you and your career path is something that I've admired from afar.
Well, appreciate that. But you know what? Sometimes it's, obviously you got to be good, but also sometimes you got to be lucky. And the way that it was set up for you, because you were in Houston, it gave you a natural reason to want to create a platform, excuse me, to talk about your Jets. And then that's where it's built from. Like for me, if it was the opposite. Like I kind of ended up getting screwed because of it, because I was fortunate enough to be on the Fan, so I didn't have it. I didn't have a need for another outlet to talk New York sports. I'm on SNY, so I don't need to talk about the Mets. I don't need to create my own YouTube show. If I were to go to another market, he'd be like, yeah, I'll do the other market, sure, do a national show, and then on the side, create your YouTube channel. So for you, it's worked out perfectly, and I'm happy for you. Before we get into the Jets, which obviously you love talking about, I can't wait to get your insight on the Jets here. Also, just following it along through the lens of somebody who's kind of been there before, like, oh my God, I'm working with Mike and the dog, or oh my God, I've gotten to meet this player or that player. Give me some of the one or two highlights for you. You grew up listening to the K Show. Now you fill in with the K Show. You know Michael. You become friends with him. What are some, like, oh my God moments that you've experienced in your young broadcasting career?
Yeah, there's a couple. It's funny, as you were talking about that, I was just thinking about how, I grew up listening to the Michael K Show, and now, when Michael's out, I regularly get a chance to fill in. So I try to really appreciate that because I know, how cool that is. But there was a moment a couple weeks ago where I had a take, and it's Jet related too. Right after the Jet schedule came out, and I saw they were playing Salah and the Titans week 1. Then I looked and saw week 2 the Packers, week 3 they're taking on the Lions, week 4 they're playing the Bears, and I said week 1 for the Jets. I truly believe, it might sound crazy, I think it's a must win. And Don LaGreca went on the rant later that day saying, Asman, it's such a hack take. You can't say that. Then a couple weeks ago, I was filling in for Kay, and Don came on for the final segment for a little crosstalk. And he goes, I gave you a hard time over that, but I'm not going to lie to you. I kind of see where you're coming from now. I think it actually might be a must win. And I'm just thinking to myself, wow, like I went from being called a hack by the great Don LaGreca to now he's actually agreeing with one of my takes. So there's so many moments like that I could point to, but just honestly, just getting the chance to be on the air in New York, like this is all I ever wanted to do. Now, did I know, as a kid who, was listening to Mike and the Mad Dog and Joe and Evan and the Michael K Show, that it was going to be like the business would evolve where you could actually make a living being a content creator or a YouTuber, however you want to label,
Right.
What we do now? No, but I knew I wanted to talk about New York sports, and that was my passion. So it's an awesome, experience getting a chance to live in New York and actually get to live out that dream.
And I have to thank you because you're the one who, God damn it, I don't know what's going on with me this morning. You're the one who got me on ESPN. I don't think my voice had ever been heard on ESPN radio before. And I never, for whatever reason, like I was just a WFAN guy. I don't even know, do you know what year ESPN radio started?
I think it was, we're coming up on our 25th year anniversary, so 2001.
Okay, 2000. So I was already I was already entrenched in the Fan at that point. I've been listening to the Fan probably since like 95, let's say. Then I started working there as an intern in 2003. So it was always just fan. Obviously, I knew about ESPN radio, but you were a rare guy that you did both. But I was always open to opportunities, and you were the first one not too long ago. Was it? When was it? Over the summer, spring, whatever it was?
And you dressed up as Mike Clown.
That was another
great.
time. That's right. I dressed the first time you had me do a phoner when you were.
I think I was doing the
night.
night shift. Yeah, it was at night.
Anyway, so thanks to you, I've been on ESPN radio as well, so I appreciate that. All right, let's get into the Jet stuff here. So I saw some of your stuff on this, and I don't know where you stand fully, though. The more I think about it, the more we're falling into the same trap. I've done this with BT for years. Like, I see it with the Jet fans. Now I do it with Badabooms. Like, you guys, like, come on, a little dose of reality here. Maybe need to experience some success before getting to the point where it's like, oh, this is going to be the year. Geno Smith has one great drive. Everybody excited. Are you more optimistic now after first couple of preseason games going into the year? Where are you at with the Jets and the optimism going into year 2 under Aaron Glenn?
So it's funny. I used to be called a Jet shill, a Jet homer, and now I'm way too negative. And oh, you hate Aaron Glenn. It's like, no, I'm critical of a guy who looked overwhelmed and went 3-14 in his first year. But I digress. I guess I'm a little more encouraged about like the possibility of this team being, maybe like I like to call it like fake good for the beginning stretch of the year. Like in 2022, they started 6-3 and 7-4 before they collapsed and finished 7-10. Like, maybe if they could win week 1, they could find some momentum. And, they have in their first 8 games, they play the Raiders, they play the Dolphins, they play the Browns. It's like maybe best case you could be 4-4. Like I'm trying to find some positives. It's tough for me to really get on board. There's a reason why their win total is 5.5. It's because you could argue they have the worst head coach in football and they have a bottom 5 quarterback in the league. Again, I think Geno's going to be better than he was last year, but it's just tough for me to be like, yep, Geno Smith back with the Jets. This is definitely going to work. He's going to give you this awesome year, and this team's going to be far better than expectations. I think they're better than they were last year, but that's not saying anything to me. They were horrific, historically bad in a lot of areas last year. So, like, I'm trying to find reasons to be positive. I'm going to Nashville for week 1 for crying out loud. I'd love to see the Jets stick it to Sal and win that game. It's just tough for me to get over the fact. I think they enter most weeks with the disadvantage at quarterback and head coach, and I think it's a coach and quarterback league at the end of the day.
Hey, those are 2 most important things.
Right.
And, like, I love how you say, well, yeah, I mean, they could be better than last year. I'd hope so. I mean, they couldn't move the football last year. You're talking about historically, in your words, bad football team. They were unwatchable. You couldn't do it with the Jets. That's how awful it was. And to me, I don't mind the pieces around the quarterback, but the quarterback decision was so bad. Like anybody but Geno or Fields, I guess too. But Fields was the worst quarterback in the league last year. Geno was the second worst quarterback. He is bound to make horrible mistakes that are going to kill this team. I can't get to the point where I believe, Jake, Geno is going to be good enough to have this team be truly competitive. I mean truly competitive. More competitive than last year, yes. Truly competitive to where going into each week you feel like, hey, they can win this game, or hey, they could have a chance to get to 8 or 9 wins. I just don't see it led by Geno Smith, another horrible quarterback.
It's tough because it's the Jets, so they're not going to get the benefit of the doubt. If you told me that, let's say Sean Payton was coaching the Jets, I think their win total, instead of being 5.5, would be maybe 8.5, and there'd be some saying, well, watch out for the Jets. They could be sneaky good. Peyton will get the best out of Geno. Right. Look what he did in Seattle. It's just, if you don't have faith in the coach, and again, I know Aaron Glenn's not directly coaching Geno necessarily. It's Frank Reich, but I think now we're just completely trying to grasp at straws with Frank Reich. He was basically retired until Andrew Luck said, hey, I need you to basically chaperone my program at Stanford for a year. Can you do it? The Jets were the only team that interviewed Frank Reich to be their offensive coordinator. It's been years since he's been really good. Oh, but Jake, he won a Super Bowl. Well, he wasn't the play caller on that Eagles team. It was Doug Peterson. So it's just, again, it's tough for me to buy into the coaching staff. And if you don't believe in the coaching, why would I then say, yep, Geno Smith last year with the Raiders, that's all the Raiders. Now he's going to be with the Jets and everything's going to go swimmingly. I think he'll be better than he was with the Raiders because the Jets, for all their faults, have a competent offensive line. But I got to see it to believe it, because I've been down this path so many times trying to grasp at anything, and you just get hurt. So, to me, they're either going to surprise, and that's awesome, or if they're awful, I think at the end of the year, Darren Muji's going to get a chance to hire his coach. And I actually think the Jets roster, cap space, 3 first-round picks, there's light at the end of the tunnel if they can get that coaching hire correct.
All right, so let's go there with the coaching. You mentioned you think week 1 is a must-win, and I also would agree in many different ways. The comparison or analogy that I've been using is that it was like the Mets this year, where I felt it was imperative for them. They fired Mendoza's entire staff. All the pressure. They missed the playoffs last year by a game. Soto, year 2. Lindor, all the moves in the offseason. Like, people questioning Alonso. People were waiting to pounce on Stearns and Cohen. They had to get off to a good start. Obviously, they didn't, and they never recovered. I think we're in a similar spot here. The staff with the Jets, same thing. New coaches there. Okay, bring in the quarterback. Look at the schedule. You couldn't be worse than Glenn was a year ago. If they don't win week 1 and the way the schedule lines up, you can make an argument. I was making this argument. Maybe he's gone by week 6. I had your colleague Dan Grassa on a couple of weeks ago, and he was saying that Woody loves Glenn, and because of the contract, they will do everything they can to give a reason to extend him, or not extend him, but keep him here. Where are you at with Glenn? And if they don't get off to a good start, do you think that there could be a change made in season?
So, do I think if they're just awful, they were 0-7 last year, right? If something is similar, they start 0-4, they're playing the Browns in week 5, MetLife is empty. God forbid they lose that game, they fall to 0-5. Could Woody act? I think he could. Would I want him to? I wouldn't, because I just think if you're the Jets, you give Glenn the full 2 years. If he finishes with 4 or 5 wins this year, no one's going to criticize you. If you're the Jets and you fired a coach who's won 7 or 8 games through his first 2 years, you want to make the job look as attractive as possible. If he fires Glenn, whether it's fair or not, people around the NFL are going to be butting in and saying, oh, here's Woody firing another coach in the middle of the season. Who would ever want to work for him? So I think it just behooves the Jets. If you're that bad, well, maybe, when Glenn made the comment about Geno taking them to the promised land for the Jets would be the number 1 pick in what should be a stacked quarterback class. So do I think Woody could be impatient and just he's turning 80, he's going to be frustrated, just wants to get rid of Glenn if they're that awful? Yeah, I could see it. I don't necessarily think big picture would be the right move. As much as I am a non-believer in this head coach, I think the best thing for the Jets is no matter how it goes, you give them the full year, and it's a lot easier to have that clean breakup. Your job looks more attractive if you just wait to do it in January.
I'd have to imagine the defense is going to be significantly better. I mean, I don't know how you can go an entire.
Will they have an interception, Sal? My God.
How is that even possible? It is literally something I've never thought ever in my life. I've never thought of that at all as a sports fan, that a team would go an entire season without intercepting a pass. So yes, I believe that they will. What do you think is going to be the identity of this team? We know about the playmakers that they have on both sides of the football. When you think New York Jets football this year, what is going to be the identity?
I could quote our guy Beningo and just go pain, but I mean, look, I think if you go back and look at the defenses Glenn played in Detroit, they blitzed a lot of man coverage, and I'm a little concerned about the Jets corners holding up. Again, they need to be opportunistic. If you look at like Glenn's best season in Detroit, they were 20th in yards allowed, but they were 7th in points. And to Glenn's credit, they had a lot of injuries that final year. I thought overall he did a very good job, but they forced a lot of takeaways. Now, we know the Jets, as we just joked, didn't have a single INT last year, but they could give up yards. They could give up big plays. Can they be stingy in the red zone? Can they come up with fumble recoveries, interceptions? Can they give their offense a short field? I think there will be a very aggressive defense, which at times will burn them, but I think they're going to try and be opportunistic with some of the takeaways. And then, I suppose the identity on offense, if you believe what they've said so far, is game plan specific, which that's what you should be in the modern NFL. Last year, they were so obsessed with, we want to run the ball, ground and pound. And it's like, that's not where the NFL is going. And when Glenn was asked about that, he gave this answer, well, it worked fine for the Eagles, as if the Jets have Saquon and the offensive line of the Philadelphia Eagles. So at least with Reich, he said the right things as far as, whatever the team we're facing that week is, we have the right personnel to be able to find advantageous matchups. We'll see. I think some weeks they should be a ground-heavy team because they have the O-line, they have Breece Hall, they have Braylon Allen. And some weeks, I think with their weapons, if you tell me Geno Smith's protected, they should be able to get the ball downfield to some of their playmakers. So I'm fascinated at what the offense looks like. The defense, I think we have a better idea on what that identity is going to be like.
See, I'm still a believer that you force and it could just me being old school. Maybe I'm outdated here, Jake. You're the younger guy. I still believe in creating what you want to create. Now, obviously, you have to adapt to certain things and change things up on the fly, and you'd like to be as versatile as you possibly can, where if you need to throw the football, you got to be able to throw the football. But I am a believer in using your strength versus, okay, well, let's take advantage of the opponent's weakness. And I really do think that the Jets should, and I also just believe, forget about just using your strength, I also believe in the foundation being inside, in the trenches, built inside out. And the foundation being run the football, and then everything should come off of that. And the Jets, they should be built up. They should be built to do that. It should not be Geno Smith or Aaron Rodgers when they had him dropping back 40 freaking times throwing the football. Now, I'm not saying that if you needed to do that, you want to be able to do that, sure, with the weapons that you have, but you shouldn't have to do that. You want to limit the risk, run the football, chew the clock, shorten the game up. And I think the Jets can do that, or at least on paper, they should be able to do that. The big question is, will they? Because we felt this way for a while. So I'm hoping the identity, much like it was the last time they had success, Mike Tannenbaum's team, with Mangini's team that built that team. Obviously, Rex then took over and took them to the next level. They were built inside out. That offensive line running the football. That to me is the best formula, especially when you're a team like the Jets that has not been good in so long. Like, focus on the fundamentals here. Do you think that they can have success running the football and maybe that be their identity, even with the flashy weapons of Garrett Wilson or some of the tight ends?
Well, I think that's what they would like to do. The problem they had last year is, one, the quarterback, he couldn't throw. Like, he could not complete the forward pass. I'm not even like trying to be mean or make a joke. Like, they had games where Justin Fields had negative net passing yards. I mean, it was ridiculous. I mean,
In the
Brees Hall
modern
having
NFL, like they
no,
just can't. Yeah,
Brees Hall had over 1,000 yards last year. I thought it was incredibly impressive because he's facing 8 or 9 man boxes on almost every play. Teams were daring the Jets to throw because they knew they couldn't. So I think at least with Geno, no matter how anyone feels about him, he's at least a veteran with a good arm who could check out of an obvious 9 man box and get the ball to Garrett Wilson on a screen, or get the ball to A.D. Mitchell, or Kenyon Sadiq if he ever plays with his injury here, Mason Taylor. They have guys where you should be able to be more balanced. I think they want to run the ball for sure, and they should be able to when you're not facing those 8 or 9 man boxes. They also, this is where the defense has to be better. If they're not playing from behind in every game, you will have more scenarios where you're not asking Geno Smith to throw 30 plus times a game. And if you limit the amount of pass attempts, you limit potentially the amount of turnovers that Geno, we know, good or bad, is going to give you. He'll throw it downfield. He's also going to throw it to the other team. If you're in more games and your defense is actually playing well, then that will help the offense have longer drives, and that will help the offense be balanced and run the ball and be able to do different things. They never could do it last year because they were trailing in basically every game, and they could not complete the forward pass. It was insane.
I do think that you kind of have to throw out last year for all the reasons that you just mentioned. Like, the games look one way because of the way that they started out, and then you could just never recover, and it looks so awful. So, and maybe the same thing with Aaron Glenn. I liked a lot of the stuff Glenn was saying. I didn't like the hire, but I on record, I would have kept Aaron Rodgers and hired Pete Carroll. Pete Carroll was a disaster in Oakland. Still, we don't know what would have happened here, but I wanted some kind of proven commodity here for once.
I wanted McCarthy and keep Rodgers and draft Jackson Dart. So we had similar thinking.
Right. So just whoever it was, and I was having that argument with BT, I think he wanted McCarthy as well. Whoever it was, you need, like, for once, hire an established coach. You watch the Giants now with Harbaugh. All those things that you were saying that we could question about the Jets going in, those are the exact opposite questions with the Giants. Like, I know because of Harbaugh, the players that were like on the fringe or maybe disappointing, they're going to be better this year under him, or they're going to be out because he knows how to win. So if Tyrone Tracy continues to miss blocks and fumbles the football, he's going to be out. Harbaugh won't deal with it. With the Jets, it's like, I'm not so sure. So there's a foundation. Special teams, the little things that help you win football games, that will be cleaned up by Harbaugh. Does it mean that they're going to win 9, 10 games to be in the postseason? We'll find out, but I trust it a lot more because I know with the coach and the pedigree with Glenn, you don't want the head coach to also be a question mark. The question mark on defense, on offense, quarterback, younger players, and the head coach is also a question mark with the Jets, obviously, which is part of the big reason why maybe people will be skeptical about them going into the year. I want to bring in Badabooms in a second, but before we do that, I mentioned special teams. I do think that's a huge thing, Jake, just winning football games. Where are the Jets at with specials this year going into the season?
Well, if you look at their team last year, it's the one unit that was not just good, it was outstanding. I mean, they by every metric, DVOA, point differential, the Jets had one of the worst years in the last 25 years outside of special teams. The reason why they have 3 wins is because last year Nick Folk was incredible, and I'm a believer in their general manager Darren Muji. However, letting Nick Folk go, I think it could be a huge mistake for this team. I don't know if their week 1 kicker is actually on their team right now, which should definitely concern every Jet fan. But Chris Banjo is their special teams coordinator. You could say a lot about Aaron Glenn that's negative. The one thing that's a clear positive was he hired Banjo as his special teams coordinator on the recommendation of Mike Westhoff. So I think their return game will be good. Their punt game will be good. Their coverage was excellent last year. I'm just concerned about the kicking situation. But again, the reason why they had a couple wins last year is because their special teams was so damn good. The kick by Nick Folk to beat your team in the rain at MetLife. And that's the reason why the Jets don't have Fernando Mendoza as their quarterback right now. Or how about when they beat the Browns, they scored a special teams kickoff return and a special teams punt return in the first quarter of that Browns game, and a game where Justin Fields had like 50 total passing yards and 45 of them came on a screen to Brees Hall. They actually won that game because they had 14 points in returns from their special teams. So, like, for the Jets to have any chance of being better than most think, I don't know if their special teams could be that good again, but it has to be a major strength of the team. And then hopefully, if the offense is better, the defense is better, if you want to be positive, if these games are a lot tighter, maybe the special teams prowess the Jets should give them the edge in some of these tight games, and you actually win some of them.
What do your Sundays look like? Are you doing shows before and after? Are you going live after the game? You doing watch-alongs during the game? What do your Sunday schedules look like around the Jets season?
Yeah, so you'll love this. So last year, and we're back for another year, I do a weekly Sunday morning show, New York Game Day on 880 ESPN New York. It's 8 to noon with Mike Tannenbaum. And things got
8 to noon?
8 to noon. Yeah. So Mike joins me for the last 3 hours of the show. So he comes on at 9. Him and I are together 9 to noon. I do the first hour from 8 to 9 solo. It's a lot of Jets, a lot of Giants, whatever the big stories are that day. We have Rich Samiti and Jordan Ronan on with us every week to preview, both teams. And I like Mike, and obviously he's a Jet fan. I appreciate all he did for the franchise, but he's a major reason why Aaron Glenn got the job. He recommended him to Woody with the 33rd team search, and last year we got into it a lot as he was trying to defend Glenn, and I was as critical as anyone in the Jets universe of the head coach. So for his sake and for my sake and all the Jet fans' sake, I just hope they get off to a decent start, because it's going to be just brutal radio from Mike, not even just from me, but from the callers, which is calling and hammering him if this Jets team is just terrible again.
That is tremendous, bro. 4 hours on a Sunday, that's a lot. And then what? You going live afterward for the YouTube show?
Yeah, exactly. I go live after every Jets game, and they have 0 primetime games this year, Sal. So basically, I'll watch the Jets from my apartment here. I got the 3 TV set up, put the Giants on one, Jets, Red Zone, and then I'm going live right after every Jet game for 2-3 hours. Reacting, taking calls, and kind of talking about whatever pain we all just experienced, most likely.
All right, let's bring in Badabooms here for a few minutes and do a little bit of a roundtable. He is, as you may know, Jake, a Jets nut like yourself.
Oh, yeah.
I feel like I'm surrounded. Like I can't get away from the Jets. Now, for the record, I like the Jets, and I want to see the. You can't even get it on right.
I can't get it on. Yeah, there's a serious problem here.
What's wrong with you? Would you get bigger since the last time you had that on?
Come on, dude. I was trying to get the theming up here. I'm excited. I want to
you
run
get the
through a
headphones
wall.
on. That's an issue. Yeah, no, I understand. All right, well,
Naturally
where are you
big
at?
Head.
Do you agree with Jake as far as going into the season? See, he skews, Jake, a little more optimistic, I think, than realistic. I'm a realist, like you, and not just with the Jets, with everybody. In New York, that's what it should be. But I do feel like there are certain Jet fans that think they're realistic, but yet continue to be optimistic. Badabooms, where are you at going into the season?
I think I'm realistic this year, but then again, you see all this new talent, and it's tantalizing. It's like, to me, it seems like this team is much more talented than it was last year, and Justin Fields was more than awful. He was atrocious. He was scared to throw the football. After Woody came out and said, if our guy can complete some more passes, that totally shut him down. He didn't have this in New York. And it's unfortunate. I think this new version of Geno is going to throw a lot of interceptions. He is going to be erratic. But that's what they need to open up the running game, especially if they can get Breece Hall involved, not to mention Frank Reich and his more creative
We don't
playbook.
need a breakdown of the offense. I just wanted your opinion on whether you're breaking it down here. Like you come on, you're not more Anthony Beck on the tight end breaking down the offensive plays here. Hold on now. I was just thinking about this. Jake, if you go live after all the shows, how do you do that from the game? Like you're going to Tennessee, right?
Yeah, so I take off for 2 games all year. I do a road trip game with my listeners. We're doing Nashville this year. Last year we did Tampa. Year before we did London. Year before that we did Vegas. And then I do 1 home game meetup. So I take off for just 2 Sundays the entire NFL season where I don't do that show with Mike. Someone fills in for me. So that's basically how I do it. And what stinks is because they have no primetime games, I can't go to any of the games because I get off the air at noon. By the time I get to MetLife, if I call an Uber from my apartment or from the ESPN New York studios in Soho, I feel like I'd be walking in right as the first quarter is starting. And the best part of going to a Jet game is likely the tailgate because the on-field stuff is not any good. So if I can't tailgate and hang out and have some beers and some food in the parking lot, I'm just not going to go to that many games. So I'm only taking off twice all year, once for Nashville and once for the Jets Dolphins on October 25th, doing a home game meetup for my listeners. We're all sitting in the same section and doing a big tailgate before that one.
All right, well, maybe if the Yankees aren't still playing that, would you say October 25th? It's probably the World Series time, right? If the Yankees aren't in the World Series, maybe Badabooms will come out there and hang out with you. Are there still tickets available?
Yeah, we got a couple left for sure. We're doing a big tailgate in L5, which they're known for, the jersey burn before every game. They burn a jersey of the road team's quarterback, and it's a blast, man. I mean, Jet fans are so great, and that's what it's so painful to go through this experience every year because as we just saw with the Knicks, it wouldn't quite be that obviously with the Jets, but like there is such a ferocious passion for this football team, and we've had nothing yet. I'm doing an event in Nashville, and I have nearly 600 people that have RSVP'd to come to this party the day before the game down there. It's nuts how great the fan base is, and you could argue that no fan base in sports gets a worse return on their investment than the Jet fan. Don't even have our own stadium. You have to share it with the Giants. Just everything that comes with being a Jet fan. Yet the fan base is as loud and passionate as they've ever been.
Nice to have some backup here on that. Normally, I'm just getting hit over the head with a sledgehammer like Triple H. Every time I show passion.
I respect the passion. What I don't like, and for the record, I am rooting for the Jets. I like to see the Jets do well. One of the first books I ever read was Bill Parcells' final season. As a matter of fact, I was reading it on a plane with Anthony Becht a few rows in front of me, coming back from Las Vegas just randomly. So I root for. I followed Parcells when he was with the Giants, and then followed him to the Jets. I will root for the Jets to be well. I think it's great for New York sports for the Jets to do. I thought Aaron Rodgers was going to take him to the promised land. I loved Aaron Rodgers, got the T-shirt and everything. So I'm all in on the Jets if I believe in them. I just can't believe in them. Like when BT went on the rant about unkillable, like, bro, they just lost Rodgers. Season over. That's it. They're dead. And he was like, they're going to go to the playoffs with Zach. And I'm like, what is this delusion that I'm witnessing? Like, my feel that day was devastation, and I cannot believe that this just happened to this team and this fan base again. Like, I couldn't believe it.
Yeah, that's how I was. I was there. I flew in from Houston because I was still living down there at the time. It was the worst moment of my life, honestly. I kid you not. Like, and to this day, it has caused so much PTSD when I watch my team. Like, if Jalen Brunson goes down with a hard foul, I fear the worst now every time for any of the athletes I root for. Like, if Garrett Cole throws a pitch and it looks a little awkward, and I'm like, oh no, he's gonna be done now. He's gonna need Tommy John. Like, it has ruined how I watch sports in a lot of ways. Because anytime there's an injury to a player on a team I root for, I think the worst, and I get flashbacks. Remember when Brunson went down in Game 1 of the NBA Finals, went back to the locker room. I had the Rodgers PTSD immediately. Like, it was like I fell to my knees on my couch. I was devastated. I was like, oh my God, this can't be happening again. So it caused irreparable damage. Not just that injury, but just the whole way the Rodgers era went. I truly believe it caused irreparable damage to so many Jet fans' psyches the last couple of years.
The only reason why I didn't do a swanton bomb off the top of the Empire State Building after that night, unfortunately, I was also in the building, because I needed to see how it ended. I needed to see how he came back and what they did the year after. And of course, it was what we all thought it was going to be.
Terrible. I still can't believe. I thought it was the right move at the time to get Aaron Rodgers. The fact that he wanted to come here, he embraced it. Talking about the Lombardis, it's been a while. Let's get another one in there. Understanding the history. I really feel badly for Rodgers, and even more badly for Jet fans to have it go like that. They would have been bad enough if they went 8-8 or whatever, 8-9 that year, or not, 9-8 even. The fact that he couldn't even give you a play, he couldn't even get a game out of Rodgers, and it turned to Zach Wilson. The whole plan was set up. Have Zach learn under Rodgers for a year. Have Rodgers have success with that defense. Oh, my God.
He said Vinny looked lonely, Sal.
I know.
He came in. First thing he said, Vinny looks lonely.
All right. Well, we got to let Jake go here because he's got his own show to do. We really do appreciate your time. Hope to get you on at some point again during the season, Jake. Talk some Jets with you. I know you talk other stuff too, but I love the passion for the Jets. And like I said, that is a promise from me and Badabooms. If the Yankees are not in the World Series that day,
I don't think they will be. I'm a Yankee fan telling you this, but it's funny. No one's more confident in the Yankees than Met fans. It's amazing to me. But all the Met fans in my life tell me how good this Yankees team is. I'm like, you guys aren't watching. Like, they don't score runs. Like,
they win 90 games every year. Yeah, okay, they don't score runs. How do they keep winning series? All they do is win. They're 3 games out of the division.
And then they don't hit, and it's the same story in the postseason. And now the master plan is let's rely on Aaron Judge to come back and immediately carry this team when, let's be real, outside of last year, and I'm a Judge guy. I love him, but let's call a spade a spade. He has not been a good postseason performer, and now there's no Stanton, and people are like, oh, it's fine. Who cares? He's the only guy that has consistently hit in the playoffs in the Aaron Judge era. So, again, the American League stinks, so that might be, by default how they get to a World Series. But, Sal, I think they got to win the division. Under Aaron Boone, they have never won a playoff series when they have started that series on the road, with the exception of the COVID year. They beat the Guardians or the Indians, whatever they were at that point, in the wild card round with no fans in the stands.
I'm not saying that they are going to go to the World Series. Matter of fact, I wanted them to get Skubal, and what I was being told was, oh, they don't need pitching. Pitching's the strength. Starting pitching's the strength. Well, how about now? Now the Freeds, they're dropping like fries. Freeds out, Weathers out, and now the bullpen gets hurt because you don't use those guys. So, meaning, you get Freed back, Rodon back. Now you can move one of those guys to the bullpen. Bullpen becomes stronger. That was the idea. Yeah, well, if you had Skubal, now you could actually do that. Now they can't. So even the strength has gotten weaker over the last couple of weeks with these injuries. I'm not saying they're going to go to the World Series. What I'm saying is, even though it doesn't look like they're playing well, dude, they win 90 games every year.
They do, but that's more of a product of just like the American League's not very good. Again, they deserve credit for it, but at some point, it's like, does Brian Cashman just get a job for life? Like, no matter what, Aaron Boone, no matter what, you don't make any changes. Again, my biggest frustration is when we're told by the Yankees, oh, the playoffs are such a crapshoot. And as someone who did radio in Houston, every year I was down there, and the Astros went to the American League Championship Series 7 times. They went to the World Series 4 out of 7 years, won it twice. You could say cheating. Okay, they still were going to the ALCS every year and won another World Series without cheating. The fact that, we get told it's a crapshoot. No, build a better baseball team. And I'm sorry, when Aaron Judge goes down, we know he's an all-time great, back-to-back MVP, the whole thing. You should not be this dependent on one guy in your lineup when it's Major League Baseball. It's not acceptable for this team to be that dependent on one guy that if he's not out there, you just magically can't score any runs. That's insane to me.
When's the Yankees collective coming?
we might. You should be on it, Sal. You'll be the positive Yankee fan on it. People wouldn't even know.
I know, that's my boy Booty. I got to root for Booty to get through. I try to be realistic with everything. With the Yankees, the other thing though, and you know this, like if a Met fan is critical of the Yankees, even though I really believe it, it's like, oh, it's because you're a Met fan. So you can't even be like, you can't. New York has gotten so soft here. We got to toughen them back up. Let's go, Jake. I think they can handle it. We should be critical of our teams. What has happened here? Whether you're a Met fan, Yankee fan, Jet fan, Giant fan, doesn't matter. You call it what it is. If they're not good enough, they're not good enough. We expect more in this city, like the Knicks.
Agreed. And look, I like. People are like, oh, you want the Jets to be bad because it gives you content. I'm like, you have no idea what you're talking about. You know how much more money financially is in my pocket if the Jets are good and views are up and people are excited. They want to spend money on merch. They want to come to events. They want to be part of the community. It's just so not true. And I want to be wrong about Glenn. Just like I was the biggest Tom Thibodeau fan and thought it was a terrible move for the Knicks to move on from. You think I care that the Knicks moved on from Tibbs? Like, I'm so happy I'm wrong. I love Mike Brown. You're the same way. You embrace your Mike Brown take. Like, we want to be wrong if it means our teams win. That's what a real fan is. You're critical of your team, but you're willing to obviously own a bad take if you're proven wrong. Like, we're sports fans at the end of the day.
100%. That's the thing. They shouldn't take it personal. Although I think back to when I was younger, and if people were talking badly about my team, I did take it personally. I didn't want to acknowledge the truth. I knew it was true.
Right.
But I didn't want to acknowledge it. All right, Jake, go do your thing. We appreciate your time, man. We'll talk to you soon.
Sal, continued success, man. Love watching your channel grow from when you started it, and love checking you out on SNY and all the other things you're doing. So thanks so much for having me.
Thank you very much, Jake Asman. You can find him all over the place. ESPN New York, obviously Mad Dog Radio as well, as he was talking about there. But the Jake Asman Show on YouTube built up a nice, strong following and a base right there. We're talking obviously a lot about the Jets. Well, before the season even kicks off, everyone's making predictions. Who wins the division? Who makes the playoffs? Who's lifting the trophy at the season's end? On Kalshi, America's #1 prediction platform for the market platform, you could trade those predictions in a live market. That's the second time in a row I screwed that up. Kalshi, America's #1 prediction market platform. You could trade those predictions in a live market. I was looking at it today with Gangrene, because we've usually been doing their win total. Well, how about this? If you're high on Gangrene, and a lot of people are, like Badabooms and others, after watching Geno Smith and that one drive the other day against the Steelers, will Gangrene qualify for the playoffs this season? Right now, they are trading at 13% probability, meaning a $100 trade would pay out $725 if they could clinch a playoff spot. Now, I don't think the Jets are going to the playoffs, but I like that. I like the odds being lower and going for the price. If you're high on the Jets, don't just say, well, yeah, they're going to win more than 6 games. No, go for it. Yeah, $100 trade, like I said, pays out $725. That's bang for your buck right there, being that they're only trading at 13% probability. On Kalshi, you're trading against peers in a live market, meaning there's no house. And as the probability changes, you could buy in and out of your position, trade the draft pick, the game, and more on Kalshi. Download the Kalshi app. Use code SAL to get $10 when you trade. $10. Kalshi. Kalshi. Trade on anything 18 or over only. Restrictions and eligibility requirements apply. Event contract trading involves risk and may not be suitable for all investors. Kalshi products are not available in all jurisdictions. Prices, values, and available markets may differ from those mentioned. For more information, see kalshi.com/regulatory. How do you feel there, Badabooms, after all that Jets talk today?
I feel good. I respect Jake's ability to shoot straight because I get the emotions tied into it, and it's hard for me to be as honest when it comes to the Jets. Like the Yankees, I'm more honest than anything. I feel like.
I think you'll get there eventually. Although I don't know. I'm trying to envision a younger me when I was 23, like how I would put it this way. There was a point in my life where I thought that Hundley was better than Piazza. And that point was obviously prior to 1998 when the Mets traded for Piazza. Then when they get Piazza, then I realized, oh, yeah.
Well, I mean, didn't he break the catching home run record a single season?
I know, but still, he wasn't Piazza. And then there was a point in my life where I told Jeter to his face, you wish you could field like Ray Ordonez. And I called, I know, bro. You guys think the NL East is over was bad. I mean, come on. Bad takes have been a thing since the 90s for me.
Was that on air?
No, Jeter? No, it was to his face, off the air.
Oh, my
Back
gosh.
in the Shea Stadium parking lot where the players would come in. They were walking in off the bus. It was ahead of a Subway Series game. I looked at Jeter. I was like, you wish you could field like Ordonez. He actually, laughed. He was like,
did he sell? Oh, so he did sell for it.
He laughed a little bit, head down, didn't look at me, just was laughing come on, this guy's a clown. And then Louis Soho was the one getting on me. And then David Cohn gave me the finger as the bus was pulling away. But I was getting on them all. Anyway, and then I remember calling Bill Daughtry when he was doing a weekend show at the Fan, and I was talking about how Ordonez is going to be better than Jeter. This is 96.
Yeah.
How awful is that? Anyway, my point is that I, too, used to be blinded by the love of the team. And then eventually it just, I don't know what clicked or what changed. Certainly being in the business, but that's years later. I don't know what clicked, but when they were bad, I would acknowledge it and call it how it is. And I think you could be hopeful, but you also have to be realistic about your team.
The number one thing keeping me held down and sucked back in is Muji. I think he is the cog in this. Is that what did he say? The cog?
Yeah, the key cog in this thing. Yeah, okay, but
he's
it's not.
the key
It's not
cog
about him
in
now.
this thing.
He's done his work now. Now, do you think that the people that Muji brought in will actually go out there and perform?
He didn't bring anybody in. Don't forget that. It's a key part of all this. He didn't hire the head coach. So, if anything, maybe we'll see when he gets to hire his own head coach how things turns out. It's a weird spot. It's a weird time to be a Jet fan. After the biggest heartbreak that most of us have ever experienced off the Rodgers thing, now we have to go right back to the whole rebuilding thing. It's odd.
You should aspire, I was aspiring to be Mike and the Mad Dog, and Jake,
I should
same thing.
aspire to be Jake.
Yeah.
Yeah, 100%.
Well, not
Jake,
like being,
Matt
but he should
O'Leary,
be-
Green Bean, those are all guys that I love. I've watched
Exactly.
those guys forever.
Those are that's the future. All right.
Yeah.
We're done here.
Okay. I got the memo. Can football come already? I'm done waiting.
It's coming, brother. It's coming. Yeah. Make sure to download, rate, subscribe, hype it up. Hype it up. We appreciate the support. We'll be back tomorrow with a Giants episode for you. Special Giants, a little roundtable for you. So we look forward to that as we get closer and closer. Obviously, Jets and Giants this week. Closer and closer to the NFL season actually getting underway. Enjoy the rest of your day. Bye.